All right. I guess we should go ahead and get started. I love that music, though. Welcome to the inaugural Do Anything Media live stream. I'm Bill Meeks. I am the COO, founder, all-around do-horse of Do Anything Media. Now, if you're here today, you probably know who I am. Probably either through the podcasting I've done or the books I've written, or, maybe we're just friends on Facebook or Twitter or Insta or whatever. But I have been a broadcast professional for quite a number of years and a content producer for decades at this point. I've done everything from podcasts to videos, short films. I've written books. And now I've decided to take these skill sets and sort of translate them into something new. I mentioned broadcast professional, and if anyone pops in chat, feel free to ask questions at any time, and I can answer them. But as far as broadcast professional, I was an employee of Hearst Television until about a month ago, and then I left my job to start this. It was basically, it was a very rewarding job, a lot of really great people, probably the favorite job I've ever had. But there was something I was missing that I had a few years ago that I'd like to try and work to get back towards. Now, if you're familiar with my podcast, we did a lot of podcasts under the banner of Universe Box. We did some fan casts like Greetings from Storybrooke from Once Upon a Time. We did Legends of Gotham about the show Gotham. And we also did fairly short run. I think it went 28 episodes. We did this sort of long form show called Universe Box, which was all about our community, coming together to tell their stories. And it was this really big, cool, creative, collaborative thing. It reminded me a lot of, summer camp when you'd put on a show in the middle of summer. You'd have a week to rehearse and then you're off on there on Saturday. So that was kind of in my mind, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is from the first episode of Universe Box called Home, and basically we had one of our listeners send in this really kind of heart-wrenching, emotional voicemail that I then animated. So this is kind of a proof of concept. It connects to Do Anything Media. I'll explain it in a minute, but here, I'll go ahead and play it for you.
Home. I never really had a home growing up. We moved around a lot as a kid, so I never really stayed in one place longer than 2 years. Got to the point I wouldn't even bother to put pictures or any kind of personalization in my room because I knew I would have to take it down in a year, so I didn't even bother. I don't think place has anything to do with home. The only place that felt like home was that park that I went to with my mother in Southern California. And we would sit by the pool and she would hold me. That felt like home. But I later found in my later years that home really has nothing to do with the place, but rather the people around you and how they make you feel. Like when my mother would hold me and, she would look down on me and smile. That felt like home. Or when my first girlfriend would hold me and I can still remember how she would squeeze me and try to make me laugh when I'm feeling down. That felt like home. Or even now, when I see my best friend, the few times I get to see my best friend because she's so busy, and how I can tell somebody how she holds me in her arms when she hugs me, and she smiles at me and makes me feel like I'm the most important person in the world. That feels like home. So I guess home really has nothing to do with place. It really has to do about how your friends or the people you love make you feel when they're around you. That's home to me.
Yeah, and that piece by Wu that I helped animate and everything, it really always felt like a proof of concept of the way you can collaborate with someone online because, the voicemail Wu sent in, obviously very touching. The animation, I had the capability to do it. I could have animated to anything. I happen to have this voicemail from Woo. You tie these things together, and you come up with something way better than either me or Woo could have created on our own. And I've been doing, for the past 2 years, I've been doing a pretty complicated project called The Fakest. It's a sketch comedy podcast, which means, I write 30 to 40 page scripts for every episode. We generally have 15 to 20 actors in every episode that I have to coordinate getting voice over from and everything. So it was a lot of work on my shoulders. And it was sometimes very frustrating. And then towards the end of production on The Fakest in season 1, I did this thing where we had this sketch. It was basically Mia Wallace from Pulp Fiction becomes the new Disney princess at Disney World. Don't ask. And I had an actress named Amy who was doing the voice of Mia Wallace for me, and she had done a couple things for me before, so I was like, you know what? Why don't I see if she can just ad-lib some stuff? So I was just like, hey, why don't you ad-lib, standing out in front of the Magic Castle, talking to kids as Mia Wallace from Pulp Fiction, and I'll see if I can use any of it. She sent it back to me, and I realized that the stuff she recorded for me was way better than the 3 or 4 page sketch I had in mind. So I chopped out all but like 1 page of what I had written and put this ad-lib stuff that Amy had done in there. And I started to realize more and more as, we went on with The Fakest, and people would send me things and they would do alternate takes or, just do something completely off the wall. Like Peter Price, one of our big voice actors, would always send me a bunch of weird stuff, and I'd often end up using it. And I realized that, really the power of creation is amplified when you have more than one person working on something, when you have one idea feeding off another. And so I really enjoyed that concept. And, I've done a lot this year to reinforce that with The Fakest. Not only have I had people acting in it, but I've also brought in new writers and, collaborated in different ways. We've done improv episodes, completely improv episodes. I've been doing a lot of improv training here in Orlando to kind of enhance my abilities in that sense. And so, all this stuff has kind of been coming to a head until, I decided earlier this year I wanted to leave my job at Hearst and try to build something kind of like what old Universe Box was, but even more collaborative. So that's basically what Do Anything Media is. I'm gonna, this is a live stream. I'm getting used to this again. I see a lot of notifications popping up over on Facebook. I just want to make sure I'm seeing you guys if you are chatting. So give me 1 second. And people who are watching this on YouTube later, apologize. No, I think we're good. I don't think we have any comments in there. Awesome. Okay. So, Do Anything Media. I think probably the best way to present this to you is to read to you the copy that was written by someone I've met here in Orlando that I've collaborated with, mainly doing improv and stuff, named Allison Jarrah. Now, I have it up here on the website, but she wrote this copy. I did a little rewrite on it, but I think it speaks a lot to what the company is and what I want it to be. So I'll give you a dramatic reading of this here. Let's see. All right. So what is Do Anything? Have you ever had the universe telepathically transmit an award-winning idea straight into your brain? One that hits you so hard that you can't stop thinking about it. And I mean to the point that you miss out on sleep, forget to go to your sister's baby shower, and realize at dinner time that all you've eaten that day was a cup of coffee. Deep down, when you're completely open and honest with yourself, this is what you need to do. You have to create this thing. Now you have to ask yourself some real questions. Who's going to animate this? How am I going to edit the footage? How do I find actors? And who am I kidding? What the hell do I know about storytelling anyhow? This thought, this beautiful idea that bubbled up from your deepest desires, suddenly seems light years away. Now, we'll do anything to make your ideas happen. We're a group of passionate creators helping each other build our dreams together. This Do Anything Media is your virtual playhouse, a sacred creative space where you can collaborate with other creative people just like you. We all have that same spark burning deep down at the core of our chest. You know, the one that won't let us sleep at night. Here at Do Anything Media, we're building platforms for you to showcase and sell your work. We're making podcasts, books, and videos to teach and inspire you in your creative endeavors. Most importantly, we're connecting you with each other. It's like that African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Dreamers, storytellers, creators. We can do anything together. So that's the basic, big, broad, philosophical statement of it. So let's see here. Really, I'll say what that breaks down to, especially in the immediate future, is a couple things. Right now we have the website up at doanything.media. You can check it out. It's pretty bare bones. That might give you an idea of what we're going to have up there eventually. But I'm still busy building it through the end of December. But we're going to do kind of two things to help enable creative collaboration across the internet and build a community. One is we're going to do something called the Do Anything Jam. Now, this is going to be pretty similar, or the results of this will be pretty similar to what you saw in that Woo video, that home video from Universe Box a couple minutes ago. Basically, every month we will come up with a theme, and then starting with writers, we will develop a concept, and then that concept will be passed off to artists who will create assets, and then all compile everything together and fill in any gaps that we need to build something really cool and creative and fun and beautiful, like that Woo home cartoon that I showed you guys on the stream earlier. So that's one thing that we're doing. Another thing that we're going to be doing, and this is probably going to start in February or March. It's a program called Do Anything For You. And this is where I'm going to identify creative people I know in my life, I know professionally, I know over the internet, who have a creative dream that they've always wanted to act on. But like I said, or Allison said in her wonderful copy for the website, it seemed impossible because, you might have a really good idea for a story, but you don't know how to animate it or do sound production or music. Things like that. The Do Anything For You, I'm basically going to put myself in charge of executive producing people's dreams. I know what that means is, I will work with people on a one-on-one basis, probably one person a month, maybe one person every 2 months to start as I get into it here. But, one person a month will identify, we'll have meetings, and we'll figure out what their dream is, what their creative dream is. And then my job is to kind of pull creators and assets together, along with my own skill sets, my own strengths, to make this a reality. Like I'll say, I won't name the name because we haven't said anything publicly yet, but I know someone here in Orlando, and the first Do Anything For You, we're going to be creating a cartoon short based on her and her lives and her beliefs and her dreams. That's very much in the style of those funky Nickelodeon cartoons you remember from the 90s and early 2000s. We also have a lot of people who have volunteered resources for stuff, and I've been very vague about what this company is, and the day I announced that I was leaving my job and starting it, I had all these people coming to me with different resources, either equipment or talent or, even just beta readers and things like that. That we're going to be able to pull on for these Do Anything For Yous. I'm very, very excited about it. One of them, I'll just say it's still in the very early planning stages, but it's going to be a short film. So that's going to be another Do Anything For You we're going to be doing. I'm very excited about that. If in 6 months, that's the business I'm running, where we just do Anything For Yous. And, I'm helping, a 13-year-old in Omaha, create their first video game. Or I'm helping, a student in Ohio. And we're working together to create a web pilot for them. Things like that. These are the kind of things I want to do, because Do Anything is, what? I'll tell you where I got the name. Okay, so I am, and if you know me, you know this, I'm a huge fan of the band Bare Naked Ladies. And they have a song that was very influential in my life early on. I had went out to LA for a bit in the year 2000. I was starting to go to college there, got fired from my job out there, had to come back east. And I was planning on like, okay, I'm done with school, not going to do it anymore. And I was pretty much dead set on it. And then Bare Naked Ladies came out with this album Maroon, and they had this song called Never Do Anything. And it's all about this guy who has all this ambition, but he doesn't have any follow through. He's convinced himself that he's never going to do anything, and so he's stuck, and he's never going to do anything, and the only thing he's ever going to be able to do successfully is judge other people for following their dreams. And it really spoke to me, and it made me realize, you know, if I just sit here and in you know, the Ohio Valley in West Virginia and kind of stew on this, I'm never going to do anything. I'm never going to accomplish any of my dreams. I'm going to be, no offense to anybody out there who working this job right now, but, you know, I'm going to be a Walmart greeter the rest of my life, or I'm going to be, you know, a garbage man. And those are honorable professions. They're just not me. So that song kind of convinced me to go back to school and go to college and everything. And then when I was thinking about starting up this company, you know, it was all based on this idea of creative collaboration. And I wanted something that sort of said, you know, collaborate, stop, collaborate, and listen right in the title. And I for a while there, I was thinking do everything, but I thought that sounded too general and too wishy-washy. And then I was like, you know what, why don't I use that BNL song? Do anything. And then the tagline for the company is, we can do anything together. And I think that really sums up the philosophy I have for this company. So let's see here. I don't think there are any questions. Let me double check here. All right, we're going to keep going. So let's see here. I got my old outline. And apologies, I am a little rusty at streaming. It has been a second. We did Legends of Gotham earlier this year, but not too much of it. Okay, so the way this is all going to translate, one, we have the jams, we have the Do Anything for You, and then I'm also working on developing platforms for people within our community to showcase and sell their work. I don't want to get into too many details. There's, you know, some proprietary stuff I'm developing, but basically it's going to be an outlet for interactive fiction. And, you know, I kind of following the trend of Black Mirror, but the Black Mirror Bandersnatch episode really kind of set my imagination on fire. And while I really enjoyed it on a Netflix experience, a sit-back experience on the couch, I have an idea for another medium you could bring interactive fiction to. So a big part of my year is going to be developing a platform for that, and then connecting with people in my community to build content for it, which they'll get paid for, which is very, very exciting. That's going to be, you know, a big cornerstone of the business is, you know, these platforms we're building for people to sell their work. And my favorite thing about that is that it's not just paying my bills, but I'm going to be able to funnel money down to other creators, which is super, super important. You know, I will say, while I'm on that subject, that these Do Anything for You jams, they are completely community driven. And at the end of the day, once we have a product like that home video I showed you earlier, it's going to be completely released into the public domain, and all the assets will be too. So, you know, I'm not going to be making any money off of these jams. You're not going to be either. They're just going to be these big showcases for the creative passion within our community, which I hope to, you know, engender and support and grow. So, you know, there will be no ownership. Like, I mean, obviously, you know, I'll probably be posting the finished products on the Do Anything YouTube channel, but I'll give you guys the files. You can post them on your channel too. And we'll also have them on places like archive.org, where they will live in the public domain forever. That's very important to me that, you know, if I'm asking people to do stuff, I don't want them to be doing it for me. I want them to be doing it for themselves and the community they belong to. So, you know, that's a pretty important piece of it too. And I wanted to put that out there. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, one thing that we've done already, even in just, I think it's been 31 days since I left my job and I've been working on building all this stuff, is we've released a new podcast called I Made This. Let's see, I think I have a picture of the website here. 1 second. Maybe it'll pop up there, maybe it won't. It might. Let's see here. Oh, I know how to get it. So then we just come up here to our stuff. And this is the website you can go check out whenever you want. And shows, if I can click on there. All right, it's not coming up. So we have a new podcast called I Made This. And this is, it's been interesting since I kind of came up with this ethos of what the company is. I've been running all my decisions sort of through this filter. And this podcast was the first one, the first idea that really jumped out to me. And I was like, yes, that's it. That's the company. That's the kind of content I want to be creating. So I Made This is basically a interview show where we talk to different creators of all different disciplines, all different skill levels about how their realistic approaches to accomplishing their dreams. So we've talked to musicians, we've talked to filmmakers, screenwriters. I have an interview scheduled with someone who does cookies tomorrow. So it's really just sort of a way to showcase how people bring their ideas into reality and make it attainable. There are other shows that do stuff like this, like How I Made My Millions and How I Built This, but they're talking to the CEO of Amazon. They're talking to the CEO of Uber. It doesn't really resonate to an ordinary person like you or me. And while that can be very aspirational, at the same time, sometimes it's really hard to get the inspiration and the aspiration to get up to do one little thing, let alone build the next Uber. And so I thought it would be interesting to talk to people who, they might not be the top of their field, but they're successful in it, or they're fulfilled in it. They're fulfilled in what they're doing, and finding out how they got there, how they accomplish what they're doing while they're there, and where they might go next because of this success that they've had. So this week is the launch week for this. And if you want to go over to Apple Podcast and just search for I Made This by Do Anything Media, and if you could subscribe, that would be really great because that helps us chart and all that kind of stuff. But this week, I picked 5 different interviews. We're releasing one every day. It'll go weekly after this. But I thought it would be nice to sort of introduce the concept of the company and me as a host because, I don't think a lot of people who are going to be listening to this show might necessarily know me from Legends of Gotham or The Fakest or any of the other things I've done. So we have 5 guests that I've picked. The first one was Karen Kay. She was a former Fox Kids Show Club host in Houston, Texas, where I grew up. And she was the person who really sort of gave me the drive and the inspiration to work in broadcasting and television and content creation because I was this weird little homeschool kid sitting in Houston, Texas, and all I really had to do was watch TV. And she was on there every afternoon, and I was like, well, she seems like a cool, normal person, and she's there like talking to all these people, and they're all her friends through the television. That's really awesome. And it really just sort of set my mind on fire. So that's why I picked Karen. And then number 2 was a guy named Connor Ratliff. He's an improviser at UCB Upright Citizens Brigade up in New York City. I always have trouble saying Upright Citizens Brigade. But he's an improviser up there, and he did a special of a program called the Chris Gethard Presents, where it was basically an improvised hour-long talk show hosted by a rooster called Talk-a-Doodle-Doo. And this was something I saw a few months back, and I was like, that seems exactly like the kind of project that one of these Do Anything jams could create. So I wanted to talk to him, and I really kind of dug in deep and found out how he put it together, the practicalities of it. And so I thought that was an important one to get out there on Front Street too. Then today's Wednesday, right? Yeah. Today was Aviva from Aviva and the Flying Penguins. And I picked Aviva because she's someone I've known since about 2012 when we lived in Atlanta and I was a freelancer. And she was the first person I ever sort of felt a really strong collaborative connection with because she wanted to do a music video for her song Change. And I had never really done something like that before. I had been freelancing for several years, mainly shooting like informational videos like, hey, here are male enhancement pills. Let me tell you about them as the person who needs them. Or, an explainer video for a web startup like, hey, we're just like Groupon, but different. Come talk to us. And those were the kind of videos I was creating, not very creatively fulfilling. I ended up connecting with Aviva. She brought me in to do this music video, and it was just this great day. We went out to the park, and we just shot all these different setups, and we had all these different ideas, and everything was flowing, and it was really, really cool. And it was the first time I really sort of felt that creative collaboration in a video project. I had done theater in college and stuff, so obviously creative collaboration all over theater. It was really the first time I had felt it there. And then we have 2 more guests coming up this week. I won't say too much about the one tomorrow, but I'll just say he's a guy who has kind of made his dreams of being a comic book writer come true, as well as podcasting, as well as kickstarting his own comics. He's a really cool guy, and it was a really important conversation for me to have, in the early days of me starting my own business, because I think we had that interview a few days after I left my job. So it felt like a very important conversation for me to have personally, and I hope you guys can get some use out of it. And then Friday, we're wrapping up with a project I was actually involved with, which was the DC TV Podcast Network. If you heard me mention my Legends of Gotham podcast that was based on Gotham, we were part of this podcasting network, and I actually helped Andy and Rebecca set it up way back in the day because we were all doing DC TV podcasts at the time. And I thought, a lot of people try and do podcast networks, and I don't think they do them well a lot of the time just because everyone's kind of in it for themselves. And I think Andy and Rebecca and me, pat myself on the back, came up with a really cool way to make it feel like a community and make it seem collaborative and make it seem like it was about us instead of me. So that will be on Friday. And I really think this podcast has a lot of legs, and if nothing else, I'm getting to have a bunch of hour-long conversations with cool creative people to find out how they do what they do. And I hope you can get some use from it. It's one of those things, a big part of this company is I'm finding the more and more I turn my attention and focus and energy outward towards other people, the more successful I am. So it's completely selfish, but in the best way possible. It's just, it feels like that's how it works. The more you reach out and you help other people, the more they reach back and help you, and the more you all lift each other up. And so I think, I made this in general, and Do Anything Media specifically are really going to reinforce this lesson I've learned personally, and hopefully bring a lot of value to a lot of people. So let's see. Yeah, and again, I would just like to mention I made this, the first week is usually very important for this sort of thing. So if you can go over to Apple Podcast or your podcast platform of choice, like, subscribe, review, I would really, really appreciate it. Okay, last but not least, if you want to get involved in this community, we already have, some loose ways for you to get involved in the community. So let's go back over to the website here. Give me 1 second to get this scrolled back up. Oh, it finally did go over to the thing. Here we go. Okay, so basically, the way we have to get involved right now, the website is up right now at doanything.media, but there's not a lot of content on there. There's basically this front page and a couple odds and ends. But here under the community tab, you'll see a link to join our Discord. And if you click that link, you'll be taken. Actually, I don't think that one worked. Sorry, I'm having trouble reading what it says here. But yeah, under community, there'll be a link to join our Discord. Let's see if, there we go. Oh, okay. I had it on the wrong window. Sorry about that. I'll edit that out for the YouTube version. Yeah, but there's a join our Discord right here, the second link. And if you click on that, it'll take you over to our Discord. I have the Discord app on my computer, so it won't launch, but it'll basically allow you to join the Discord, which is a a big chat room, a big collaborative chat room. And I figured that will be the best place after talking to a bunch of people, surveying some of you watching this stream, I'm sure. I think that'll be the best way to collaborate on these jams. And there's going to be a job board. So if you're working on a creative project and you need logo artist, you can post it in there. And basically, that's where I want to start building the community we're going to use here. There is a room in there. I believe it's called Introduce Yourself. If you want to, join the Discord, hop in there and introduce yourself. And, just give us an idea of who you are, how you found us, and what skills you might have to offer, your fellow community members as we move forward in all these wonderful community-driven projects. So I think that's about it. Past that, I'll look over here. If any, because I know we've had anywhere from 4 to 20 viewers, which isn't bad for early days. But if you have any questions, I'll give you a second over there in the comments if you want to ask anything. And if not, I'll go ahead and hop off here right now. But it's been a lot of fun talking. You know what? I did tease something. Ziggy. I did tease a cameo for my puppy Ziggy. So here's my puppy Ziggy. Here's my puppy Ziggy. There's Ziggy. There's Ziggy. He's on the live stream. He's on the internet now. Ziggy's on the internet, aren't you, Ziggy? Aren't you, Ziggy? Sorry, he's in my lap, so you really can't see him. But, all right. Well, I don't think I see any questions coming over there. Me and Ziggy are going to go and wash this green face paint off my face and everything. But thanks, everyone, for checking it out. And I hope to have more info for you in the next couple weeks and definitely in the new year. So for now, that's it. Later.